And we are live, back once again. Today is, what is it, Wednesday the 10th. My goodness, Wednesday the 10th. Can't even believe it. Oh my. Anyway, but here we are. It's just at 7:21 or 7:20. I'm stalling to let people kind of get into the live stream. As they are, I can see them kind of strolling in right now. So, good morning. Yes, leave your comments in the chat as you all are rolling, probably from one side of your bed to the next. Just watch this lesson and barely be awake or something along those lines. I don't know. But yeah, I can see that there are, it says 6 people in the chat so far. It keeps fluctuating between 5 and 6, but I only see 2 comments. 3 comments. 4 comments. There they go. They're all popping in. Okay. While I'm kind of waiting for people to kind of get in, let me explain what is going to happen today. First, I will have a little bit of a reminder in regards to an assignment that was due today, as I did see a couple people were working on, but I'll talk about that. I do have a short video to show you guys. Now, again, it's a bit difficult watching a video of a video. I understand that, but bear with me. It's a short video, and I'll have the microphone near the speakers so you can hear it very clearly. But you'll see what I'm referring to. I want to clarify something that was not on that assignment that was due today. Not on that assignment, but I want to clarify something in regards to voting and preference schedules that will propel us into the project that I have for you guys. Oh, yes. I'm going to be introducing a project today. I'm just very excited. I don't know if you can tell. I haven't even had my coffee yet. Really should make that. Anyway, so let's get moving. First and foremost, you had an assessment due for me today in Google Classroom. It was a voting methods minor is what I labeled it as. And if you did not turn that in, I need you to get that to me as soon as humanly possible. That would be fantastic. We don't want to start off this brand new semester with kind of faltering at the beginning. I really don't want that to happen. So if you did not get that assessment done, you need to get that done for me. If you did get that assessment done, good for you. Gold stars all around. I will hopefully have that graded and have feedback for you as soon as possible. I should have some time. Yeah, I should have some time today to work on that. So I should be able to get you appropriate feedback. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Electoral College. Now, a few years ago, there was this not very well-known documentary called Election Dysfunction. It was starring one of these guys from The Daily Show. His name was Mo Rocca. Again, not a very well-known guy from The Daily Show from back in the day. But he was investigating the electoral college and the electoral system for electing our president. And you could tell, and I watched this whole documentary front to back. It was like an hour and a half documentary, but I watched this whole thing. And he does have a very clear bias against the Electoral College. And I can see why. It's very easy to discredit the Electoral College because if you have any form of a voting system with 3 or more candidates, you're going to find a flaw one way or the other. We just did a voting preference schedule on restaurants and who was going to be the best restaurant. And they decided that they were going to vote via the board account. And this one restaurant won. Hey, but this other restaurant had a majority. Yeah, I'm sorry, but they said they were going to vote by the board account. So, oops. Once they decide on the voting system, you can't go back on that. So if you want to change the Electoral College, you have to change it before an election and not complain about it afterwards. So what this guy did, he went into an elementary school classroom, and I'm going to show you the clip of this. And he decided that he was going to purposefully exploit a huge flaw in the Electoral College. And I'll kind of leave it at that while I get this clip set up. I already have it queued up and ready to go. I just got to put my microphone in front of the speaker so you can hear what the heck is going on. But I want you to, and again, it's just a few minute clip. I just want to put this on here and then we'll talk about what the heck's going on here. So let me flip my screen. Chapoo. There we go. Volume's up. Volume's up. Okay, here we go.
We're going to have a little election here, and I'm going to ask you to choose between two candidates, colored pencils and markers. Who is voting for colored pencils? Okay. 10 votes for colored pencils. Who is voting for markers? 14 for markers. Markers have won the popular vote.
Okay, so again, I'm probably going to be doing this a few times during this few minute clip, but colored pencils versus markers. I mean, I would think, from my childhood, it would be kind of a no-brainer, but as I've grown older, I've just realized how much of a debate that can be. But anyway, the vote was 14-10 for markers over colored pencils. And he's just like, markers have won the popular vote. And you can kind of, again, I've already set this up. He's going to set up his own electoral college, but he's going to do it specifically in such a way to get a particular result. But so the popular vote was 14 markers, 10 colored pencils, 24 people. Let's see how this plays out.
And now we're going to have the real election. Naturally, they were disappointed. They thought we just had the election. But now it was time to warp these young minds by introducing them to the Electoral College. So we broke the class into 5 tables or states. The majority at each table, either markers or colored pencils, would get the table's 1 electoral vote. Of course, in real life, states have varying amounts of electoral votes, depending on the population. Table 1's elector, how do you cast your vote?
Markers.
Table 2's elector, how do you cast your vote?
Markers.
Table 3's elector.
Colored pencils.
In the end, the whole election came down to 1 state. Table 5's elector. Angel, come on down. This is it, guys. This will decide the whole thing. Elector, how do you cast your vote?
Colored pencils.
What's that?
So cheating. Everybody should think it's unfair because it's not just about the elector's vote. It's about everybody's vote.
Oh, Aubrey, you are a rabble-rouser. I mean, clearly you're trying to whip them up into a frenzy.
It has to be fair for everybody who voted for markers, not just for colored pencils. It's 14-10. It should stay that way.
This guy's a dangerous reformer. It's...
So, first of all, I think that kid was a bit of a child actor. I don't know how coached he actually was, but so what ends up happening is this guy takes these 24 kids and he splits them up into, and I'm going to put this in quotes, 5 states. And obviously it's slightly unequal, like most groups have 5, one group has 4. And those 5 states vote as to, within their little state, who they're going to pick, colored pencils or markers. And he set it up in such a way where there would be 3 of the states that would pick colored pencils and 2 of them that would pick markers. So when they did the electoral college, it ended up being markers got 2 and colored pencils got 3. And so colored pencils wins. And then you have this kid jump up. That's not fair. That's not fair. Blah, 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 blah. And again, he's a little kid. And now what the documentary is trying to show is like, look, it's so simple. Even a kid can figure this junk out. But it isn't that simple. It isn't that simple. First of all, he set up a perfect storm scenario in which you would get this conflicting result. Most of the votes that I show you, most of the preference schedules that I show you are set up in such a way in order to have contradictory results. Most real life elections, and I want to emphasize most real life elections don't have these contradictory results. And a lot of people be like, well, the only issues I've ever seen in elections have been with the president and the electoral college. That's because if you go to any other election where it's just one vote, one person, they pick plurality. And with that plurality, it's difficult to get over 50%. It is difficult to get over 50%. Let me give you an example, a real life example where, well, plurality wins. I can't remember exactly what year it was. It'll take me 15 seconds or so to find it. Let's see here. 2003. There we go. It was the 2003 special recall election for the governor of California. And I don't know if you can see that well, but that face, that first face that you see is Arnold Schwarzenegger. A lot of people forget that Arnold Schwarzenegger was once the governor of California. And what ended up happening was there was a recall election, and basically there was a minimum level requirement for people to enter the election to potentially become the new governor of California. And these laws were so minimum that you had, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this, legitimately, hold on, I'm almost there. You had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You had 159 different people. Let me repeat that. You had 159 different people receive a vote for the governor of California in that 2003 election. 150 something people. Now, if I just ignore write-in ballots, hold on. It says all other listed and write-in candidates see below. Well, who were the write-in ballots? I go down here. There were 135 people on the ballot. Let me repeat that. 135 people on the ballot. What in the heck? And what ends up happening is Arnold Schwarzenegger receives 48.6% of the vote, which is a pretty hefty margin, but it's under 50%. The problem with plurality is that unless you get over 50%, it's not entirely fair for that person to be the winner. And even if you get over 50%, as I showed with that restaurant vote the other day, even if you have over 50% of the vote, you could still lose by other methods of voting, if that's what you agreed to. Because it doesn't matter if it's plurality, it doesn't matter if it's the Electoral College. There's always going to be a flaw in the system. I just wanted to emphasize that. I love it so much. I'm going to send you something right now. In your Google Stream, I'm going to post a Google Sheet that I would like you to access. And since you should be on Chromebooks right now, here we go, post. Since you're on Chromebooks right now, you should be able to read this fairly easily. But I want you to open up this Google Sheet that is entitled Discrete Math Chapter 1 Preference Schedule Examples. I had this typed up last week, and I had it. I should specify. I had it typed up in an Excel spreadsheet. I had to transfer it to a Google sheet. I can see y'all. I can see y'all right there accessing my little Google sheet. Thank you for that. Wonderful. Now I'm not going to go over all of these, but I would like to go over a few that we haven't touched upon just yet. It's just kind of nice. Kind of figure this junk out. One of the things that I do want to bring your attention to, I mentioned this last week, this concept of insincere voting. Insincere voting. There are a lot of people out there that say, oh, why would you vote for a third-party candidate? You're just throwing your vote away. And it's a double-edged sword, because in one sense, if you vote for a third-party candidate, then you are contributing to not allowing one of the top candidates to get over 50%, possibly. But at the same time, you have the right to vote for whoever you want. So I'm looking at this one right here, the one that says banned election preference schedule. And obviously, if you can't see it that well, you have access to this in the Google stream. I put the link in there for that for you to view. But what happens is this. There is a marching band for a college, and they have to decide, oh, hey, we've been invited to perform at these 3 different locations. And I can't entirely, 5 different locations. What am I talking about? But I can't entirely remember exactly what all of the letters stood for, but I do know that the H stood for Hawaii and the F stood for Fresno, and that plays into what I'm about to explain to you here. The band has to vote on which competition they're going to go to. They've been invited to 5 different competitions, and they have to vote. And out of all the people who voted, there are 100 band members, mind you, 100 band members. And those 100 band members, they vote. And what ends up happening is location R ends up being the winner, because they decided beforehand that they were going to vote by plurality. So whatever this location R, let's say it's like Richmond, Virginia, I don't know, Rochester, New York, who cares? Ends up being the winner by plurality. But what you don't know is that these 3 votes that picked Fresno, they picked Fresno because those 3 people were from Fresno. They decided, oh, we're going to vote for Fresno because we really want to go to Fresno. But no one else really wants to go to Fresno. They're from Fresno. They wanted to go. They wanted to get a little vacation back home and not have to stay with the band, stay with their families and whatnot. And their second choice, those 3 guys, their second choice was Hawaii. And they're like, well, yeah, if we can't go to Fresno, we'd like to go to Hawaii. But sorry, location R wins. Note, look where location R is for the remaining ballots. 51 people in that band do not want to go to this place. Let's just say it's Rochester, New York. They don't want to go to upstate New York. They don't want to go there. That's their absolute last choice. So, insincere voting. These 3 brothers realized, they're like, we really, in our heart of hearts, we would vote for Fresno. But strategically, we know that Fresno is never going to win. As a result, when these 3 brothers vote, or these 3 family members vote, whatever, they decide, you know what? We can't put Fresno first. We know that's where our heart is, but we can't do it. So they put Hawaii first so that Hawaii gets the majority. Hawaii would then get 51 votes. It's a double-edged sword. Do you vote your heart? Do you vote your conscience? Do you vote the way that you want to vote? Or do you vote in such a way where the other person doesn't win? These are all questions that people have been severely contemplating for the past 2 presidential elections. I mean, it's been going on forever, obviously, insincere strategic voting. But especially in the past 2 elections, I've heard people refer to it as, well, you're voting for the lesser of 2 evils. Or, oh, I'm actually casting my vote this way because I don't want that other person to win. Again, you have the right to vote however which way you want. No one is going to tell you otherwise. Well, they might try to, but no, you do have the right to vote however way you want. It's a weird kind of debate. I don't know. All right, let me scroll down a bit. Let's scroll down. Oh, which one did I want? There it is. Right there. School principal preference schedule. Now we're going to do something extra special with this. This one I am going to copy down into my notes. It's not that big to copy down. But I want to do a little bit extra with this particular one. So, if you would, if you do not already have them open, I'm going to need those notebooks out and open. And when you do, I'm going to ask that this particular vote is copied down into your notes. I'm going to copy it down into my notes, and then I'm going to flip my screen over. But I want to make sure that you get that copied down at least. All of these examples on this spreadsheet, some of them we've already done, some of them we haven't done. I like them. Where are we? Let's see what we got here. I'm going to copy the vote down for myself, and then I'm going to flip my screen over. So let's see. First, second, third, fourth. And it's only this far in terms of a preference schedule, 6, 2, and 3. There we go. And C, D, B, A. This is the school principal vote. There we go. Okay. Flip my camera over. Where's my camera? There you are. Click. There's the school principal vote. So I'll leave that up there for a moment. Again, you have the Google Sheet to copy that thing down if need be, if you cannot see it on the board. I'm going to call this vote rankings. So, what is this? Oh, okay. Sorry, I'd gotten a message about my son possibly getting a delayed opening, and I'm like, what are you talking about, a delayed opening? I'm like in work right now. Anyway, back to this. So what ends up happening is a school board decides that, okay, we have 4 possible candidates to be the new school principal of whatever school it is. I don't know. And the school board has a tough time deciding between these 4 candidates. So the school decides to have a vote, but they can't really agree. They can't really agree on the system of voting that they're going to do. They can't do it. It's a little tough. So they put out these preference ballots, and they put it into a preference schedule, which is what you see before you. This is the preference schedule. And they decide, okay, well, we can't decide between these 4 very valid forms of voting. You know, there's plurality, there's plurality with elimination, there's head-to-head, there's board account. So what they decide to do instead is they put out their preference ballot, and they decide to do all 4 types of voting. Plurality with elimination, head-to-head, board account. And they decide to rank the candidates based on those 4 methods of voting and analyze that to determine who they want to be the next principal of, let's say, the high school. I don't know. Now, one thing to note right off the bat is plurality is very easy to determine the winner. Obviously, I would like to do a ranking system so we can figure out, okay, who finished first, who finished second, that kind of thing. But candidate A clearly won plurality. But as always, as I typically like to do, candidate A is actually least liked amongst the remaining 5 voters. A not only received a plurality, the most first place votes, but A also received a majority. And you might think, well, that's fair. But again, this school board couldn't decide on a system of voting. They couldn't agree on a system of voting. So you can't just be like, okay, guys, we don't exactly know how we're going to vote on this thing. So let's just decide on, let's look at all 4 and then we'll analyze the results. Okay, so then they do the vote. Oh, look at this. A got a majority. I guess we're done. No, because you never agreed on that. You have to agree on the system of voting. And typically, you have to agree on the system of voting beforehand. This school board made a huge mistake because now they just opened up a whole can of worms. So let's just see how this plays out. So first and foremost, let's do plurality. Plurality. There we go. Now with plurality, clearly A wins. First is A with 6 first place votes. I'm just kind of putting that off to the side. In second place is C with 3 first place votes. Remember, plurality is based on the number of first place votes that candidate receives. In third place is B with 2 first place votes. And in fourth place is D with 0 first place votes. Okay. All right. Pretty straightforward. Plurality, 1 vote, 1 person. That's just the way that thing kind of rolls out. But as we've stated, as we've done before, this is not the only system of voting that they could have done. So they look at this and they're like, hey, clearly A is the winner. All right, but let's go to the board account. Let's go to the board account. Let's see if we can't figure this junk out. Now, remember, with the board account, you assign point values. Typically, fourth place, every fourth place vote is worth 1 point. Third place vote is worth 2, and then you work your way up to the top. I shouldn't say fourth place, I should say last place. Every last place is worth 1 point, and then 2 points, and then 3 points, and then 4 points. It depends on the number of candidates that you have. So let's figure out board account. Now I'm going to put this on my next page because I ran out of room here, but that's okay. And then we're going to do a ranking. Oh, which, by the way, I got to add one little word here. Plurality rank. Plurality rank. Because I got to do a ranking. All right. Let's take a look at board account now. So with board account, let's see. A received 6 first place votes and 5 last place votes. Okay. 24. It's 29 points altogether. And then I'm going to rank them in a little bit. Candidate B received 2 first place votes, 6 second place votes, and 3 third place votes. So 8 and 18 and 6. Ooh, 32. Already you can see a little bit of a, oh crap, A. It doesn't matter if you got a majority. You lost out on the board account. Now let's see. Oh, my microphone fell again. I was sad and I cried. Let's look at C. C had 3 first place votes, 2 second place votes, and 6 third place votes. 12 and 6 and 12 make 30. Oh man, A. Sucks to be you, A. I mean, you kind of see where this is going a little bit. You never know. D, I don't know. We'll see what happens with D. D had no first place, had 3 second place, 2 third place, and 6 last place votes. So 9 and 4 and 6 make 19. Okay. That's the board account. But again, I want to rank them now. So it is important to do this little ranking system because I got to have a comparison for later on. Borda rank. In first place was B with 32. In second place was C with 30. In third place was A with 29. And in fourth place was D with 19. That's my Borda rank. Now, one thing they can agree on between the two ranks so far, one thing they can absolutely agree on, and I'll kind of show it like this. Look at the plurality rank versus the Borda rank. So far, D is in last place. It does not seem like D is an optimal candidate. All right, let's do head-to-head. We got to do head-to-head with this thing. I'm going to bring back this preference schedule right here. I'll put my head-to-head on a separate sheet of paper. Bring that up right there. There we go. So for head-to-head, I got to do A versus B, A versus C, A versus D, B versus C, B versus D, and then C versus D. So there's only 6 head-to-heads that I believe I have to do right here. Yeah, 4 candidates, 6 head-to-heads. All right. Now, what's interesting here, again, is the fact that candidate A has a majority. From the plurality, A has a majority. A has more than 50% of the vote. Let's see what happens with head-to-head. So with A versus B, A wins 6-5. With A versus C, A wins 6-5. And with A versus D, A wins 6-5. Nothing out of the ordinary there. We kind of expected that. It seems like A is going to win head-to-head. And yeah, A is going to win head-to-head. But again, the point of this was to figure out the ranking system. So now we have to do B versus C. If you go back to the preference schedule, we can do B versus C. B beats C in 8 of those ballots and loses in 3. So 8-3. B versus D, again, it ends up being 8-3. And C versus D, oh, it's, what is that? 11-0. 11-0. So now we got to count up all the head-to-heads. A, and A, B, and B, and there's a C. But again, the point of this is ranking. Head-to-head rank. In first place was A with 3. In second place was B with 2. In third place was C with 1. And in fourth place, yet again, was D with 0. Sorry, D. Sucks to be you. Now, what's going to end up happening with plurality with elimination? Since A already has a majority, A is going to win plurality with elimination. That's a given. But the purpose of this is to get a ranking of the 4 candidates based on that system of voting. Because you can even see here, yes, A still won head-to-head. Look at that right there. There's the head-to-head ranking versus plurality ranking. A still won, and D was still in last, but B and C swapped positions. Just something worth noting. So now we got to do plurality with elimination. Now, with plurality with elimination, you look at the original preference schedule and you determine who is being eliminated first. Now, this is where some people do end up stumbling because they look at, okay, A got 6, B got 2, C got 3. Oh, I guess B is eliminated. B isn't eliminated first. B is eliminated second. Ask yourself the question, who actually is eliminated first? It's D. D is eliminated first because D has 0 first place votes. So if you're going to do a plurality with elimination rank, you have to do this backwards. D is eliminated first. D comes in fourth. Okay. Then who is eliminated next? B is eliminated next. B only had 2 first place votes. Those votes go to C. C now has 5. But as we said before, C only has 5. A has 6. Sorry, C is eliminated next, and A ends up being the winner. In these 4 systems of voting, they had very similar results, but they had different rankings at the end. Now, what the school board decides to do is they want to compare the rankings. And they want to go like, okay, plurality, Borda, head-to-head, plurality with elimination. First, second, third, fourth. With plurality, it ended up being A, C, B, D. With Borda, it ended up being B, C, A, D. With head-to-head, it was A, B, C, D. And with plurality with elimination, you ended up with A, C, B, D. One thing they can absolutely all agree on is that D is not getting the job. Even though A had a majority, A still lost the board account. When they decided that they were going to analyze the 4 different voting results, as you can see at the bottom of your screen right here, they felt like, okay, well, hopefully after we analyze all 4 results, we'll have a clear winner. And it appears as if A, even though 5 people hate her, or him, or whoever that is, even though people hate A is going to be the new principal. That's the way it rolls. So is the board account broken? No. The board account is not broken. That's the way the results went. And the results reflected the opinion of the people there. It's not broken. It's just a system of voting. As long as you agree upon the system of voting beforehand, should be fine. Oh, this system of voting. Now, what I just did was a little bit of a microcosm of the project that you guys are going to be able to do for me. I mentioned earlier that I'm assigning you today a project. Here's how that project is going to run. You are going to pick a topic that people could vote on. Now, this topic, I would heavily prefer, to keep it non-political. Non-political. The topic that you choose is going to be approved by me. Obviously, for the most part, it's going to be fine as long as you just pick a topic that's not political. But the purpose of me approving it is I don't want two people doing the same topic. I want different topics from each of you. So that's why you have to get them approved from me. Then you have 4 choices. I'm going to limit it to 4. You could do 5 if you really, really wanted to, but I'm going to try and limit it to 4. I'll give you an example that you can't use. But the topic that you can't use, let's just say I said ice cream flavors. And I picked 4 very basic ice cream flavors. And I said, okay, let's try to keep these choices relatively the same. And when I say relatively the same, don't pick like a crazy choice that people have never heard of. Because if you do that, then no one's going to pick it. But I could pick something very simple like this. I could say, okay, there's a chocolate, vanilla, maybe chocolate vanilla swirl, and strawberry. 4 very basic flavors. One might be like, oh, Mr. Markey, pick cookies and cream. I'm sorry, if you pick cookies and cream, then most people are going to pick cookies and cream. You want to pick 4 things within that topic that you believe are going to be a little bit of a debate amongst people. Then you are going to ask upwards of 25 people to rank their preference. So, for example, and again, you can't pick the one that I just talked about. You can't pick. Where's my remote here? There it is. Boop, there it is. You can't pick ice cream flavor, but you are going to go to an individual. And obviously, you're not going to go to them. You can go to them electronically. That would be great. And then you're going to have them fill out a ballot, and you are going to record their result and their name. So I'd be like, okay, so this is Mr. Markey. Cool. And then I would rank them as, I would probably put it as the swirl, vanilla, chocolate. That's not chocolate. It's not spelled chocolate. I'm a math teacher. And then strawberry. And that's how I would rank them. That's how I would put the preference. You're going to ask 25 people to fill out a preference ballot for you. You can include yourself in those 25 people. You can include me as one of those 25 people because obviously I'm going to be getting your topic anyway. And I'm going to send you a list. You can include everybody in this class as part of your 25. The remaining 25 you can get from either friends, classmates, family members, whatever you want. But I want 25 people, and I want you to record their name with the ballot. Again, this is the ballot that I filled out. Then you're going to take those 25 ballots, and you're going to organize them into a preference schedule. You're going to organize them into a preference schedule, obviously similar to what we've been doing right here. This right here is a preference schedule. And then you are going to determine the winner of that vote by all 4 methods. Sorry, I just saw Sydney's comment. I'm sorry. I want to make a snarky comment about strawberry, but I can't think of one right now. Anyway, you are going to figure out the winner of your preference schedule then by those 4 methods of voting that we talked about. You're going to determine a winner by plurality. You're going to determine a winner by board account, head-to-head, and plurality with elimination. You are going to have a rank like we just did for the school board principal election, or what selection, whatever they want to call it. You are going to provide for me a rank. And there are going to be some questions kind of reflecting upon that process in terms of what your opinion of voting methods that you prefer. That's how we're going to do it. Now, obviously, I haven't posted the project just yet. I am going to post that project today in your Google Classroom. Obviously, it will take some time to gather 25 ballots. And again, you're going to get one from me. You can include yourself in there. I'm going to send you a list so you can email your classmates in this class, obviously. You don't have to, but you can. If you want to go more than 25 ballots, that's up to you if you want to go more than 25 ballots. You don't have to. I'm just saying at a bare minimum, you have to have 25 ballots. At a bare minimum, you have to have 4 choices. You could have more. But again, these choices, it has to be something where one is obviously not going to be the winner or something like that, you know? Like if I were to pick, again, like cookies and cream, I would argue that cookies and cream would always be near the top. But this is a bit more of a debate. Look, Sydney's already debated me on the strawberry thing, so meh. But that's what we're going to do. So I am going to post that project probably within the next hour or so. But I'm going to give you the following task because I'm going to sign off on the live stream in a few minutes. But I'm going to give you the following task. I want you to consider what topic you are going to choose for this project. You can't choose ice cream flavor, clearly, and you can't choose anything political. I would prefer you do non-political stuff. You need to get the topic approved by me. So I am going to accept emails of the topic that you send me, and I will tell you whether or not it is approved or not. I'm going to create a spreadsheet keeping track of the topics so that you can look at that and be like, oh, Johnny picked this and Joey picked this and Susie picked this. I can't pick those, so I have to pick something else. And that's how we're going to end this today. So right now, your job is to think of a topic that you could do for a vote, put into a ballot, that you could have 4 or more choices. In this case, you can't pick ice cream. You got to make sure that your choices are somewhat generic and kind of easily spread across the board. Now, I'll give you an example of something that maybe you want to consider how you would tweak this. But in previous years, a student would be like, best basketball player. And I'm like, okay, and who are the choices? And then they gave me like 4 choices. And I'm like, okay, go for it. And then the problem that they ended up facing was that they would give the ballot to somebody who knew nothing about basketball. Now, in terms of statistics, if you were to then say, well, I'm only going to ballot people who know about basketball. If you were to think statistics, then, oh, that's a bit biased, isn't it? Well, for our purposes, you don't have to worry about things being biased. The reason being is, well, think of it this way. If they're going to be voting in the NBA, if they vote on the MVP, you only want people who actually know about basketball to vote for MVP. You don't want to pick me who doesn't really know much about NBA players today outside of LeBron James to vote on who is going to be the MVP of the league. You want people who are actually knowledgeable on this. So just as a food for thought, no pun intended for the ice cream. But yeah, so I'm going to leave you to it. I'm going to sign off. I'm going to post that assignment within the next hour. If you think of a topic that you would like to claim, email me so I can add it to the spreadsheet, and I will make that spreadsheet available to you guys in due time. And then you will have your instructions and you will have a due date. Now, the due date is not going to be right away. The due date, I'm going to give you at least like a week or so. I'm kind of aiming for probably Thursday morning, this thing be due. And of course, if you haven't done that assessment, that voting methods minor, make sure you get that done as well. If you haven't left a comment in the chat, please make sure that you do so. And then I am basically going to leave you to it. So, dismissed. Bye. That's how I wave now. That's how I wave now, like a crab. But yeah, okay, I'm gonna sign off. You guys have a wonderful day.